Good evening and welcome to Spooky Town Tales, Season 2, Episode 10.
10? Double digits.
Double digits. We'll be rounding up this season in a few episodes and then we'll be cracking on with Season 3. She just keeps going. Whether people listen or not, I'm just going to keep making it.
The little train that could.
The little train that could. And will. Welcome back, listeners, for another episode of terrifying stories. I have yet again managed to find a buttload of local stuff for you. Yes,
That's
I know.
Good. That's hard to find.
It's hard to find. It takes hours of searching.
It's under all the rocks.
It's lucky I'm an insomniac.
It's lucky that you just avoid sleeping.
It's lucky Sleep and I aren't friends. For your guys' sake, because I've dug through many a page and found some WA stories, some right here in Donnybrook, where we live.
What?
Yeah. Bunbury. Yep. Got some pretty good ones. We had a request from a few people because I teased about a local dog man.
Oh, you're such a tease.
So I'm going to give that to you tonight. You're going to get the goods. So, hold on to your butts. We're ready. We've got our chai lattes.
Too close to home. That's what I'm afraid of. You can't tell us these ones. I might have to skip these episodes when you do the ones that are close to home.
I know.
I just won't listen. Ah, there you go. There's a solution.
You never bloody listen. So anyway, we have this evening some Dogman stories again. We have some UFO stories, local UFO encounters. We even have a Bigfoot spotted in Harvey.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
We've got a couple of creepy doppelganger and a creepy story that I found that I just wanted to share because it's just one that just makes you go, So if you're listening to this show, you like to be spooked, so hang on to your butts, as I like to say.
And it's your own fault.
It's your own fault. You're listening. It's what did you expect? Fairy tales? No, not here. Nothing but dark and gloomy scary here. So get ready, get comfortable. It's raining today. We're recording on a Sunday. If you hear noises in the background, it's our children or our pets. Nothing to worry about. We're not being possessed.
In the middle of the day, recording is a bit odd.
It is odd. It's strange, but it is rainy, so there's an atmosphere at least.
It's got the right tone.
So when you're listening, it'll be evening. So turn out the lights, light a candle, set the mood. Treat yourself. Make it special. Pour yourself a drink or a chai, as we're having, and prepare to be
spooked.
Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging because I want to set the tone for today's episode, this evening's episode, because I want to get you spooked from the get-go. I want you to be on the edge of your seat. I want you to be grasping it. Fingers cutting through the sides of your sofa.
You'll be responsible for sofa wrecking.
I want to ruin sleep because I don't get sleep. Why should anyone else sleep? So here we go. This story I found online. Now, I can't validate that it's true, but it's an encounter someone's had. Found it online.
Good enough.
It's titled Icky Noise.
Ew.
I've mentioned in previous comments that my childhood home was massively haunted. A lot of haunting happened during the day. But here's the one that panicked me the most. I was alone watching my brother. I was around 18, he was 2 or 3, barely talking yet. We were in the playroom, a really brightly lit area downstairs, playing with blocks or something, when he suddenly goes from giggling to running around to just dead frozen, staring at the entryway into the room. Never a good thing.
Not great.
When a toddler or a dog stops dead.
Yeah.
I ask him what's up, and he just points to our staircase and says, icky noise. He'd been pointing and saying that, freaked out randomly for a while now, and I just figured it was going to be another time showing him nothing was there. But I finally take a look at the stairs, and there is something there. Our staircase was mostly surrounded by walls, so I hadn't noticed at first due to his shadow, but I could see, crouched on the step, just below where the wall cut off, this pitch black shape of a person. It was literally a slightly fuzzy silhouette of a person made of just pure black, clearly looking at us between the hand railing. It took a step further down towards us, still crouched holding the rails, before my brain processed what I was actually seeing.
Oof.
I screamed, because what other response are you really going to have to that? Grabbed my brother and hauled ass out of the house. We ended up sitting in the backyard with my sister's dog while I called my mum and waited for her to get home. Sightings of that thing only got worse before we moved out. When my brother was a bit older and was able to explain why he called it icky noise, because whenever it showed up, he could hear this really gross gurgling whisper. I never heard it make a noise, but I definitely saw it several times, and it got rid of my idea that daytime was automatically the safe time.
Yeah. Holy crap, man, that's a bit gross.
Icky noise. A gurgling whisper. Like a... I don't even know.
Yeah,
You'd do a better version of a gurgling whisper, I imagine.
When I'm asleep, I'm pro at that stuff.
You and the dogs all do great gurgling. You are icky noise.
like a mandrain, really.
Yeah. Anyone else out there got a mandrain living in their house with them? I feel you guys.
Wallace and latte.
It's a chai. Okay, are you scared? Let's get on to the next story. Now, forgive me if I stutter a little with this one because it's scrawled in chicken scrawl. I believe I wrote this one at about 1 a.m. one night.
Who let the chicken in?
Yeah, I know. Bloody chickens. Anyway, so if I do get stuck on things, I apologise, but it is worth the wait because it's a good story. So, forgive me. Forgive my gibberish. I'll just get on with it now and stop talking. Okay, so this story occurred, I believe the Barkly Tablelands is in the Northern Territory. Tennant Creek is in the Northern Territory. This occurred on a huge property owned by a family and had been in the family for generations. Big farming, cattle, ranch style thing. But the land that they owned was so vast that it would take like 2 days to get to the nearest neighbour.
Yeah, yep.
So it was huge amounts of property that they had. So when working the land, it was not uncommon that the sons would have to ride in the car with like a trailer and a quad bike to go and round the cattle up to move them around.
Yep.
They'd be gone for a couple of days from the house. So this occurred in 2000. The parents had retired and they'd left the business to the kids in the family because they'd sort of hit a wall technologically. They couldn't progress or get the business to progress any further. They needed the help of the younger generation and just accepted it's better if you guys take over. So the business was handed on to the next generation. They all lived on the property, all the kids, in various houses. Some were married, some had kids, so it was a big co-op of people.
Our own family village.
Yeah, pretty much. So they would go, what would you call it? What's the term? When you're rounding up cattle for a couple of days. There's a name for it. It's an old-fashioned name, and I'm sad that I've forgotten
cattle
what it
rustling?
is. Rustling? Something like that. Anyway. So
you get a whole heap of cows together and you shake them all at once.
Shake them. See what noise they make.
They rustle.
They're all called rustle. I don't imagine a cow would rustle, do you? It'd most likely...
If you get a big enough bunch.
I think it would like make a shuckle noise. More of a glug. Like glug, 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 glug. I don't know.
More of an icky
Any
noise.
farmers... Any farmers out there ever shuckled a cow? What noise do they make? Okay, let's get back to the story, Jimmy. So this occurred a few years back. So this family were very used to the job. They'd done it there literally their entire life. They'd grown up in this big,
Yeah.
vast,
Cattle station.
hundreds and hundreds of kilometres
Yeah.
of property. They knew it inside and out. But this particular year, there'd been very heavy rains, very, very heavy rains. And they'd been checking on the cattle and discovered that in one of the faraway grasslands, for some reason, the cows, rather than going to higher ground, had all gone down to lower ground, and a bunch of the calves were stuck in the mud.
Right.
So they had to get them out. So it took 3 days of basically getting all the cows that were down there back up to the higher paddocks, the grasslands. They were having to sleep rough, and they travel back to the homestead every day, if they could. To obviously, they take turns going and getting stuff,
Right.
but there would always be someone out with the
Watching them.
cows,
Yeah.
because there were so many stuck
Right.
in this muddy area. So over the years, there had been strange stories that they'd heard from bordering farmers of all kinds of weird stuff, but they honestly didn't. They took it all with a pinch of salt, because as most people are, unless you see it yourself,
Yeah.
you don't believe it.
Yep.
So they'd finished a stint, and they were at the lowest part of the paddock on this day, getting the 1.5-year-old calvers, trying to get them out of the paddock. That was where most of them were, the young calves that were stuck,
Yep.
because they didn't know what to do. And as he put it, was muddy as F. They'd had some quad bikes, and by the time they'd reached camp, it was getting dark, so they decided, look, we're just going to have to... So they'd rounded up all the loose cattle first,
Yeah.
because they knew it was going to be an arsehole of a job,
Yep.
pulling these calves out of the mud. They made camp, and they decided to herd the rest the next day. They were knackered.
Yeah.
So that night, one of the brothers had got up to take a piss, and he'd noticed that all 4 of the dogs were cowering around the brother's swag, which was very strange because they were working dogs. They weren't pets. They slept rough all the time.
Yeah.
And they never acted this way. Ever, ever, ever. They were cowering like they were frightened, and they're all squished up together up against the brother's swag, like trying to hide. The next day he told the brother about the dogs, and he thought it was weird, but he said it was probably just that they were cold. But it wasn't even cold that night, which is what...
Yeah.
But they kind of thought, oh, well, whatever. It was a bit weird.
Bit odd.
Yeah. So it was a hot day the next day, and their work was carrying on without incident. All was fine. Then they'd discovered more were stuck than they'd thought, so it was going to take another whole day, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
So the brother decided to take the dogs back to the house. His 2 dogs. So just 2 of the dogs. He left the remaining 2 dogs with the brother. And then he'd leave the other brother there for the night and then come back the next morning with more crap, basically.
Yeah.
Left the brother to get as much done as he could. And because I think obviously they'd alternate who was doing the most work and whatever.
Yeah.
So he'd gone back to the camp, and he was going to come back the next day to help get the last of them out of the mud. After a few hours of pulling the trickiest ones out, he left,
Yeah.
and then the other brother kept going.
Yeah.
Then he got knackered, and he said, what they would do normally when they were working pretty hard is you'd take a good hour off, have lunch, and maybe go for a ride on your quad bike or do something to take your mind off it other than working, because otherwise you'd burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So he chucked the dogs on the quad bike and went for a bit of a burn around the farm. So whilst fanging around on the property on his quad bike, he came across a dead calf. Now this one looked like it had been frantic, trying to get out of where it was.
Yeah.
And there were signs that it had been like whipping around, trying to, like, in a panic.
Yeah.
It looked like its neck was broken
No.
and it had been ripped out.
Whoa.
So it wasn't just a matter of it looking all contorted and being dead. It had something had ripped its
It'd come at it.
throat out. The dogs were too scared to get off the quad bike, and they don't get scared ever. So the dogs made this guy nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So jumped back on the quad bike and went back to camp. And by then it was about 6. So it'd been a fairly long break.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would do the same
You
thing.
gotta do what you gotta do.
So by 6... Oh, no, sorry, he'd done more work. He'd gone back and just thought, I'll keep myself busy, take a line off it.
Right.
So by 6, he'd got most of them out. There was only one left.
Yep.
He had his dinner at about 8, fed the dogs, and settled down. He fell asleep. What does this say? Sorry, everybody. Fell asleep. He woke up to the dogs licking his face. Sorry, woke up to the dogs licking his face, and the cattle were carrying on, like something was annoying them or upsetting them. So he grabbed the shotgun, jumped in a ute, and drove down to the ridge to look down and turn the spotlight on to see what the hell was going on. The cattle were clearly spooked. The dogs were scared. So with the shotgun in hand, he walked down to the cattle to see what the hell was happening and try and calm them down. He grabbed the handheld spotlight and shone the light down in the bog, and the calf that had been in there that was proper stuck was gone.
Oh.
He looked all around. He was like, how the hell? There's no way in hell it could have got out. Then he shone, as he turned the spotlight around, he saw a large man standing high in the shrubbery on the edge of the bog. His response was, what the fuck? So he shouted out, what the fuck, to this guy, thing, whatever it was, with no response. Then he noticed that it wasn't a man at all. The dogs were whimpering and crying and hiding. So he fired a shot, and this thing didn't flinch. It stepped back and dropped down, and it was only about 30 metres away.
Ooh.
It moved slightly towards me. So,
Jeez,
so it was a huge...
30 metres, still the
It's
same
pretty-
as last time?
It's pretty close.
It's too close
Said it was enormous. He realised it was far too big
to be a person.
to be a person. Let me just see, where am I up to?
Must have obviously only fired a scaring shot, not a...
Oh, he moved slightly towards it because he was still sort of thinking it was maybe someone on their property.
Yeah.
And it walked back a little bit. So when he got within 25 metres of it, he realised that it was bigger than a fully grown cow.
Whoa.
But it wasn't a cow. It looked like a huge dog. And then it started pacing back and forth.
What?
So he got within 25 metres enough
That's too
to
close,
see, and he said
yes.
it was, bigger than a fully grown cow, but it was standing upright, pacing back and forth.
Shit.
Yep. So the
That's not cool.
it had been pacing on all fours, then it stopped and stood up on its hind legs, and it was enormous. That's when he noticed the long snout.
Holy shit.
It was twice as big as me. I shot at it, heard a huge yelp and a massive thump, and saw the silhouette shape back off. And then he passed out.
Oh no.
So when he woke up from being passed out,
Oh no.
he thought, oh good, it was a dream. But then he was still in the same spot. The car had been idling the whole time he'd been passed out. The battery had gone flat. And the cow was still gone. And there were signs over where, because he'd obviously investigated thinking it was all a dream.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
God it was just a dream.
Footprint.
He was right where it had
shit.
all happened, and he realised
Oh, in the.
there was marks of where this thing had fallen, and there was marks of something had been there.
Oh, no,
So he couldn't
that's
then
worse.
he couldn't then go, oh, I just passed out and I was overtired and I've dreamt the whole thing, because he woke up. He woke up there. The car had been idling.
What would you do?
Everything was still there.
Yeah, no, that's not
And that's
cool.
the end of that story.
That's not cool.
There's no resolution to that one.
Oh. And the markings on the floor, honestly, you'd spend half a day there just trying to get your head straight. Just going, what?
Trying to just tell yourself it was all a dream.
Yeah,
That's
or
what
just
I would be
anything.
doing. I'd
You'd
be
be
looking
going,
around going, okay, now look,
nah.
there's got to be proof something was here.
Yeah.
But the calf was gone. Everything was the same.
And the dogs?
And the fact that his ute,
Yeah.
like, if it had been a dream, he'd still be in his swag.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, but it's just more so, I think the other thing that gets me is the dogs, because...
And the rounds in his gun, there had been rounds fired from his gun, so he knew he'd fired at something.
Yeah.
So you couldn't justify that as being, oh, I just dreamt that I was
shooting
passed
stuff.
out and
Yeah.
I woke up and I dreamt that I was shooting stuff because he had the gun there.
Yeah.
Rounds had been fired. It happened.
Yeah, no, that was
The only thing I could think is that it was hallucination, that maybe he had heat stroke because he'd been working so
Absolutely.
hard.
Like you said, yeah, because he's, like you're saying, this
Especially
is
if
8 o'clock at night.
Especially if he's passed out,
Yeah,
that very much could have been a hallucination as a result of heat stroke
yeah,
or exhaustion.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
So there's that. Those of you that want to seek comfort,
But again,
consider that a possibility.
the dogs is what gets me.
The dogs were reacting. The calf was gone.
If the dogs react in that way, I mean,
And the cattle.
yeah,
Very odd.
very odd. It's tricky to push that one to the side.
It is.
That's a very good point, though. Like heat stroke, absolutely, that is the number one symptom.
Had there have been another person there to witness it, I'd be more inclined to go, what the hell?
Yeah,
But being that he was on his own,
and after a full day's work,
a hard day.
hard
wasn't it?
day's work, like wrestling cattle
Calves
out of mud, that's intense.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think, folks? Write in your opinions. Okay, now I've mentioned this one in previous episodes when we were doing a cryptids episode. I had said that I'd heard an encounter that was very close by. For one, I mentioned there was the weird thing at the tip that I mentioned again last week, but this was the one that spooked me the most. So I'm retelling it. I don't think I told the whole thing in great detail last time. I just said if you wanted to check it out, go to the Yowie Hunters site.
Oh, yes, yes.
But I will read it out to you. So this is courtesy of yowiehunters.com.au. So they have a website where people report in their encounters. Now, I found this one whilst hunting for cryptid encounters in WA. I was quite shocked to see how close this was because this is a road that we regularly will go down, especially on our way to my sister-in-law's house. So here we go. So we had been at the Boyup Brook Rodeo and we're heading back to Greenbushes on the Greenbushes Boyup Brook Road at around 1:30 a.m. We'd been pulled up by the police for a licence check. Shortly after, we were driving 80 kilometres per hour when a creature came from the bush on the left side of the road. It seemed to be injured and its back legs were lifeless and it was pulling itself along at speed with its arms. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. There was this massive, big creature. It was really hairy and had big eyes, red eyes. It was dragging its legs up to its chest. It had a really strange gait. I said to my husband, "What the?" It was coming straight for the car, and the next thing we knew, there was this big bang. It went right over the roof of the car and to the other side. Then it looked upright. It was going along with its hands first and then dragging up its feet. It looked like it had been injured or shot. It stood up to about 8 feet tall. It came out and over the car and then upright. It was massive. It was in a human form, but really huge across the chest. It had long shaggy hair. It was sort of ape-like creature. The face resembled a cross between a human and an ape. The eyes were round, quite large and red. I don't know if the glow from the eyes was from the headlights, but they seemed to be self-illuminating. It had large canine teeth on the upper jaw and a large head with long hair, and hair on the face wasn't as long. The skin on the face was dark brown, brownish black. The rest of the body had long shaggy hair that was dark brown black colour. It looked pissed off. It also looked like it was in a lot of pain. It looked like it was running from something, or wounded or injured. Maybe a car had hit it. When it was on all fours, it took up half the road. It came up out of the bush at speed. There was a loud bang when it went onto the roof. I thought the roof was going to cave in. When it landed, it ran and turned around to look at us and kept running. I went over the embankment on the other side. At one stage, I thought we were looking at a werewolf. He had to be there. Now, this is where it gets creepy. So, 2 people witnessed it. Husband and wife. It's creepy.
Come on, buddy.
I'm not convinced yet. But, so both husband and wife saw this thing. Enough that they'd slowed.
Yeah. 80 k's an hour.
That's not that fast.
It's fast enough. I can't run that fast.
That's true, yeah. So, later she was telling a girlfriend what she'd seen. And she said she'd seen the exact same thing at Donnybrook at the Brookhampton Road turnoff in 2007.
Whoa.
She said it was covered in hair, about 8 feet tall, she was in her car at the time. She described the exact same thing. So before giving all the details, this friend described what she saw, and the rest is history in the same area, the Brookhampton turnoff. I get a creepy, eerie feeling down the Brookhampton Road.
It's a bit odd.
It's got a weird vibe, that whole area.
That's pretty crazy.
So to have someone say, I've seen the same thing in my car.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something you go, like with UFOs and stuff, you say, I thought I saw a light in the sky.
Yeah, and that's...
Not many people see an 8-foot hairy beast running along the side of the road and can say, oh, yeah, I've seen the exact thing.
I've seen the exact same
Describe
thing.
it.
To a T, which is, I think, I just find the time of night.
Could it be a furry?
Furry?
People that like to dress up as animals. It's an erotic thing.
Well, it explains the pissed off face. Got hit by a car.
There are some strange people around this neck of the woods.
But
to each their own. I'm not judging if you're a furry. Some people get turned on dressing like animals.
Do what you do.
Do you remember that movie that we watched where he pretended to be the Sasquatch?
Yeah.
And then the wife was a fairy?
Yeah. It's funny though.
So naturally now when I drive around that area, I'm always just wondering, like looking around at trees, at formations in the landscape, could it be, but it moved and it jumped over on the car.
The car, that's what gets me.
A person couldn't do that.
No, not at 80 km.
A kangaroo is the only,
yeah,
those of you listening that aren't Australian, the only large animal that we have in this area that could, like a native animal that could come out on the road is a kangaroo or an emu. They're the two large ones. The problem is the silhouettes to those are exactly opposite to what's described. Exactly. This is what I'm trying to rationalise. It's more what other animal, unless someone's even cattle and things are in your headlights. They're pretty discernible as a cow or,
you're gonna
or
notice
a camel.
If a cow hits top of your car. You're
going to notice. And they're not really athletic. They can't really jump. No. Kangaroos can jump. They can. But again, the thing that gets me is that the silhouette's exactly upside down. That they're all bottom end. And if it was dragging itself by front arms, kangaroos, we all know their front arms are pretty useless unless they're in close proximity. Exactly. So I don't know. It's a weird one. It's odd, like you said. Unless they'd been smoking the doobies at the Boyup Brook rodeo. Well, it is funny that the police checked them on the way out of town. So well, they do that every time. Absolutely, you have to. Yeah. Very cool. So if you if you did want to have a look at Yowie Hunters, which is a very cool site, it is very, very cool. Jump online, and it's got actually you can check out encounters from wherever in Australia. They've got almost like a catalogued map area, so you can look at where you are and go, "Oh, is there any near me?" And that's where I also found. And now I know there's two near me. There's two near me. It is odd because the main ones in WA have been right near us. Oh. So yeah, so have a look at that. On to the next. So just to dilute some of these cryptids and dogman stories, I wanted to read you another really cool ghost story that I read. Now this one is an Australian, unfortunately this one is an American one, but it's a great one, so enjoy. This one's titled Shh. What? That's it. I wasn't saying anything. Very funny. When I was a teenager, I used to babysit my cousin, Alyssa. She was little, maybe almost 2, maybe a little older, old enough to say sentences. I'm giving her a bath. Now, if you all say 2's not old enough to make sentences, our second baby was talking at 11 months asking for chicken dinosaurs. I want chicken dinosaur, please, Daddy. So kids can talk at that age, just before you. And they can talk back as well. They can talk back, all right. I'm giving her a bath before bed when she looks out into the hallway and gets terrified look on her face and starts crying. At this moment, my aunt's Pomeranian starts going nuts as well, barking and growling into the hallway. The atmosphere in the room becomes uncomfortable and I start getting scared. I take her downstairs from the 3rd floor, in the townhouse to try and calm her down. I ask her what's wrong, and she says something along the lines of, "The man with the black eyes was there." When I continued to pry, she looked up at the second floor stairs, eyes getting bigger, and looks at me, bringing her finger up to her mouth, shaking her head, saying, "Shh."
That's not cool.
Imagine babysitting a kid and
That
having
says
that.
that.
That is so creepy.
Yeah, that's not cool at all.
What would you do?
I don't know.
I mean, I've had that with Scarlett before. Scarlett, our daughter, woke me up one night and was calling, but calling in a scared, sort of can't make too much noise way. And I sleep very lightly, so I could hear her going, "Mum, Mummy." So I was like, what the hell? And I went through and she said she'd seen there was a black head peering at her over the top of the bunk bed, and then it had moved across and then gone down. And then it was moving her teddies and trying to scare her, looking through the rail of the bunk bed. When your kid says that at 2 a.m, it is rather uncomfortable. And then I sort of, as a parent, you kind of just say, well, you were probably asleep still. You were having a dream.
Yep.
But still,
this one's in the middle of the day.
This one was in the middle of a bubble bath.
Yeah. Crap, man. Not cool.
Ew. The man with the black eyes. Change of pace yet again. Now we're going to be talking UFOs.
Well, the old switcheroo.
This one took place in Waroona, 1993. Now, those of you interested in alien abductions, UFO sightings, I highly recommend there is a resource now. Someone has mapped out, not only can you look up UFO sightings, there is a separate map for alien abductions.
Really?
Yes, so you can actually read some of the ones. There's one that I'm going to read that is crazy. I'm going to do another UFO and alien specialist episode coming up because there are so many in WA, and this is what makes me giggle, all in the early 90s, all when aliens and UFOs were at their peak popularity thanks to a special little show called The X-Files. The truth is out there, folks. The truth is out there. So anyway, I'm going to read you now a couple from our area in the southwest or in WA, but this one took place in Waroona, January 1993. A group of 13 people saw a large blue flare-like object pass from north to south. The weather was fine, with some low broken cloud. There was no sound from this object. Duration 8 to 10 seconds. It appeared to skip a couple of times before being lost due to distance. The whole area was bathed in blue light, brighter than moonlight. 3 of the group camped overnight, claims that 2 of the cars had flat batteries after the event, but it was also established that the tent was erected by the light of the cars concerned. So there's that. Possibly they drain the battery using the lights while they... A check with Perth Observatory found that reports of a green fireball had come from various parts of the state, seen just before 2200 hours. The main witness, Amanda, claims to have had a dream of an abduction experience, woke up and found bruising finger marks on her upper arms. She experienced headaches and are now she says headaches are now occurring fairly regularly. She also claims to have suddenly developed healing abilities, tested on one of the U-Form committee with remarkable... Where are we up to? With remarkable and inexplicable results. UFO Forum, so that's spelled UFO and then RUM, and I'm guessing that's a UFO site.
UFO.
So he's confirmed she has healing abilities. I would say, to be devil's advocate here, that she's got carried away. They've seen a natural occurring meteorite or a what do they call it, atmospheric flare. Yep. And she's been watching too much X-Files and has decided she's...
And when you ring the Bureau as well for that sort of thing, remembering 93, internet, not even a blip. It's not the sort of thing that's going to be too freaky in this day and age if it
Yeah.
happened now.
And if you've seen something that you don't know what it is, and you don't have enough information about the science behind anomalies
Yep.
and meteorites, whatever, and you've been watching scary shows,
You're going to go
you're going to
straight
have
there.
a dream, and you're going to just assume everyone thought they'd been. My mum thought she'd been abducted by aliens. My brother thought he'd been,
Yeah.
It was a thing. It was a total thing. But perfectly rational explanation is she's just probably dreamt the whole thing up.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. But, I mean, I could be wrong. Prove me wrong. Someone prove me wrong.
It's a thing.
Next one. This next UFO sighting took place on Muirs Highway, Western Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of you will probably be familiar with Muirs Highway. I believe it's down Manjimup Way. Is that right?
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with it.
Muirs Highway.
I know the name. It's just my brain doesn't tell me where it is.
Well, from the
It's a
map,
secret.
it's in the southwest, down Manjimup-y, Franklin River-y,
Oh, righto.
somewhere around there. So two nurses were 30th of May, 1981, this one.
Oh,
So this is prior to X-Files Mania, UFO Mania.
okay. Better.
Two nurses were travelling between Nyamapup and Deeside on a cloudy night when the driver noticed a very bright light on the horizon. The passenger also saw it. As they continued, the object grew nearer, although not moving itself. At the closest point to it, they parked the vehicle. From this position, the object appeared as a white dome set behind trees. From the surface of the dome came straight rays of light with rainbow colours. No noise was noted. The two decided to leave the area and drove off. Smart ladies. Get the hell out of there. So that one's pretty...
Yeah, that's interesting. It's
Unless someone was having a party and had
but
put
yeah, think
up
of
a gazebo.
The 80s though. It's and the technology for making a glowing dome back then wasn't.
You'd be surprised.
I'm always surprised, but it's just I just don't. In the bushes down that way, I don't see it being a thing. Which is interesting.
It is interesting. Very. Okay, on to a ghost story.
Yes.
So I'm going to share with you now a doppelganger story because I have a personal interest in these, as I've experienced probably the only supernatural thing that I could have absolutely zero explanation for that I've ever experienced. Usually I can try and talk myself out of most things, but doppelgangers are something that I've had first-hand experience with, so I personally find them to be some of my favourite.
They're interesting. They're very interesting.
When I come across them, I do tend to like them.
Your ears.
They're one of my favourites.
I don't know why we both just got really old there for a second.
We do it all the time. We've been old since 22, and instead of going on the booze with our mates, we stay home watching British crime
This
dramas,
is
drinking cups of
true.
tea. We get excited about McVitie's chocolate digestives.
Oh, but they're good.
They're bloody good. Oh, let's stop talking about that. We're here for spooky stories. What's your Bicky recommendation, folks? I'm going to do a poll.
Send us your best.
Send us your best biscuits you've ever had with a cuppa. Right. So, late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can still see myself standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye.
Ooh.
It's like another me is watching me leave the room. It terrifies me to the point where I almost run out without looking directly at the mirror. I never told my husband about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Totally understand that.
Yeah.
Like what happened with me seeing
Oh,
something
the
out the
amount
corner
of
of my
crap
eye.
that you've not told me, and I know that you haven't told me
Yes.
for good reason.
Yes. Sometimes it's better to just ignore
Yeah.
things. Earlier today, so this is where it's like, oh, fuck. Earlier today, I took a nap in our bed while my husband sat in the chair next to me watching telly. When I woke up, he told me that he'd seen me sit up and crawl backwards to the edge of the bed, stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. He thought it was weird that I got up that way because I'm in the last month of my pregnancy and I can't really move so good without hurting. So he tried talking to me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there at all and still sleeping in bed. I got really creeped out and finally told him about what I've been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't want to really talk about it anymore.
That's creepy as shit. Let's not talk about it.
Because he thinks if we talk about it, it will give whatever it is power and energy.
Yeah.
I still have no idea what it is and why we both saw it.
That's pretty freaky.
So if you've not said a word and you've been seeing something staring back at you, and when you walk away from the mirror, there shouldn't be an image remaining in the mirror.
This doesn't get stuck. It's not a TV.
It's not a TV. And even if you're still, just even out the corner of your eye, able to see a figure in the mirror, that's not normal.
Nope.
And then
That's
for the
Matrix
husband...
gone wrong.
Well, just for the husband, she said not a word about it while she's asleep, so she can't even influence what he's seeing by saying what she's seen. Mm-hmm. He sees her crawling backwards. How creepy is that?
That's pretty creepy. No, not cool.
And the fact that he's like, what's she doing? He's still too busy watching his TV. So this thing crawling, and then walking towards the bed. It must have been in his line of vision.
Yeah,
for him to go, what are you doing? And
it would have had to have been enough of a solid thing for him, not just like a weird blur and going, no, what's that?
The fact that he could describe she was crawling backwards.
It's enough to...
Wouldn't that be enough to turn your head, though?
Surely it
must
would.
Have been watching sports or something.
Must have been
From someone that grew up in a house with family that were very into footy and stuff. You could literally set yourself on fire next to them and they wouldn't even notice. Holding the bloody ball in the back.
What?
I'm on fire. No.
So someone got some toast going. I want some toast.
So I was like, who's cooking? I want some. I feel like KFC. Yeah. True story. True fact.
Dear.
So once again, I've over-prepared and I had far too many stories for this week's episode. So be expecting another one next week because I've already got half of the stories lined up.
I mean, you put some more sleeping hours in this.
I might be able to.
Good idea, you should.
Yeah, but those of you out there, we are desperate to hear from you. We really want some stories from local people. You can remain anonymous. Mm-hmm. We will not mention your name, which means you don't have to worry about anyone knowing who you are. We won't judge you.
Nope.
We're very open-minded.
Just talk to us, damn it.
Tell us your stories, no matter how weird they are. Any kind of weird thing that you can't explain, we want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. So send them on through to the Southern Paranormal page or email me directly if you'd rather at audreybramble@mail.com. That is at mail.com, not Gmail, not Hotmail, just at mail.com. And we appreciate you listening and we hope we've given you enough to sort of think about and mull over and get a bit scared from on this spooky evening. I believe there is a storm front rolling in at 3 a.m.-ish this evening.
Or tomorrow morning-ish, early, by the sound of it.
Shut up. So until next time, folks, stay safe and stay creepy.
Bye.